Can you see it?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, so I would first of all like to thank the people who took the initiative to organize this webinar today, amongst others, Peter Hondal and also Sustainable Business Hub. And I'm also very excited that there are so many French experts here today. Which is really nice because France is really the place where hemp and lime originated. So I'm looking forward to the next speakers. So today I will talk a little bit about hemp and lime. I will talk a bit about what hemp and lime is, and I've made my slides mainly in Swedish so that the Swedish people on this webinar get a bit of a not so difficult start with the English, and then you can have a bit of more know-how on the words that are involved when building with hemp and lime, amongst others the word lime, which is kalk in Swedish, so that's very good to know. And I'll also talk a little bit about my research projects at Lund University. So first of all, a bit more about hemp in Sweden. This is a very nice hemp field outside of Grästorp in southern Sweden. Those of you who work with hemp in Sweden probably know about this farm. This is one of the bigger hemp farms in Sweden. There is not a lot of hemp cultivation in Sweden today, but there has been historically because hemp arrived in Sweden both through Russia, from the east through Russia and Italy. And it has been grown in Sweden since the Viking days, so over 1,000 years. And it has mainly been used for ropes and sails, textiles, paper, oil. So it's a very versatile plant, and it has been used for many purposes historically. I have some very nice Swedish pictures here, some historical pictures from yeah, almost 100 years ago, you could say, before the 1940s. This is a picture of hemp harvest on Gotland, where you can see they use a little tractor here. Unfortunately, it was not allowed to grow hemp anymore in the 1960s, where Sweden followed the example of the US, and many other Western European countries followed suit because they wanted to forbid the growing of hemp because they thought it was a drug substance. But the drug substances in the THC levels in industrial hemp are very, very, very low. Here there's a very old map from 1952. Here you can see where hemp was grown in those days. A lot you can see has been grown historically on the island of Gotland, which is the bigger island on the right on this map, in the east in the Baltic Sea. And also a lot around Stockholm, you could say. So the bigger dots are more than 50 hectares of hemp being grown. So that's a very interesting picture. This is not what it looks like today, unfortunately, but there was a lot of hemp being grown in Sweden historically, and there was a lot of knowledge about hemp. So what can you do with hemp? Here you can see another picture of some Swedish hemp field. That is the hemp field of Thomas Jakobsson, very far in the south of Sweden. From a hemp stalk, on the outside of the hemp stalk, you have the fibers. At the top, you have the seeds. And at the center, the core of the hemp stem, you have the woody core parts, the shiv, also called skärvor in Swedish. That's a very old Swedish word, also called vedämnen. And it's these vedämnen or skärvor, these woody core parts of the hemp stem that we use for building. The fibers you can use for hemp fiber insulation, for example. I have a little picture of that here. There's this German company, but also some French companies that make hemp fiber insulation from the hemp fiber. And yet another picture of some Swedish hemp. So there is some Swedish hemp being grown. This is very close to my home, actually, a hemp field outside of Veberöd. So then back to the hemp parts. the fiber for clothing, for hemp fiber insulation, the seeds, you can make oil of them, and also a lot of people here in Sweden use them for their some hemp protein in their smoothies. But then you have the woody core parts left of the hemp stem, which is quite a significant amount of the hemp stem is these woody core parts. And they look like this. Here you can see a ruler with the centimeters. So you can see these parts are 2, maybe 3 centimeters at the most. I know there are some French regulations on how these hemp shiv should look like. I think we will hear more about that later from our French speakers. But this is a little picture of a hemp shiv up close. You can see it is quite reminiscent of wood. It reminds a lot of wood. Now, to build with hemp and lime, you use these hemp shiv and you mix them with lime, with kalk. So here you can find a nice slurry of hemp and lime. Here we've mixed the hemp woody core parts with some building lime. These hemp and lime kalk. And I've heard there are some Dutch people here today as well. Just to have these words in mind for when the French people are starting to talk about lime, that you know it is not the some people think it is the fruit. This is a very nice surface of hemp and lime in a building. We actually went on a study tour to Paris last autumn, and maybe a very trained eye of the French people here can recognize this wall, but this is one of the buildings we have looked at. So this is the unfinished surface of a hemp lime wall. Now, what can you do on the surface to protect this hemp lime? Usually, a render is used. A lime render is used on the inside and the outside, but it's also quite common that there is an air cavity, and then you can put a timber facade, or you can put any other material as a facade material that you like. But it's quite common to use a lime render. Now I also have another nice picture that I took when we were in Paris on this study tour. This is actually a French hallmark of approved hemp. So this is hemp approved for building, and there are also products on the market with like a lime approved for building with hemp and lime. So there is this French regulation where you can have approved products for building with hemp and lime. Some of the advantages of building with hemp and lime: it's a very lightweight material. And because you could see in this previous picture that I showed, you have I should go back and show you again. Here you have the timber studs in the center of the wall. Here you see a horizontal section. So you have the timber studs in the center. It's not a load-bearing material, hemp and lime. So you use usually timber frame, sometimes also steel frame for the load-bearing purposes. Then you have hemp and lime around this load-bearing structure. And as you can see, most of the facade is just the timber frame and the hemp and lime, and then a render as a surface. So you really do not have a lot of materials in your wall. So what I've written here is you can have a reduction of the number of building layers in your wall. Also, it has good thermal properties. It has good thermal insulation, and also a very good property that it has, that it has thermal inertia. So usually when you have a thermal insulating material, it does not have a lot of thermal mass, but here you have a material that is thermally insulating, and at the same time it has a good thermal mass. And of course you can use hemp in it. It's quite a significant part of hemp and lime is hemp, which is a renewable resource from agriculture, which can be locally grown, which is a big advantage. It has low environmental impact, and also it has good moisture buffering capacity. So if you have a high moisture load in a room, the hemp and lime can absorb this moisture, and once the moisture in the room goes down, it will give it off again. So you have a moisture buffering function of the wall, which is quite unique compared to the way we build today. Here are some examples of excuse me, some houses in the United Kingdom. One second. I'll give you some time to enjoy these nice houses. This is another study tour we went on in a project that I will talk about later, where we had a look at hemp lime buildings in the UK. I'm sure we will see some very nice examples of hemp lime buildings in France. And as I said before, hemp lime originated in France, so there are a lot of houses being built in France, but there are also quite some houses in the UK, not far as many as in France, but still there is a hemp lime industry in the UK as well. The top left is a building. It's a little what do you call it? A building block called the triangle. So it's made up of 3 little streets with terraced houses. At the right, the top right, you can actually see a very different facade material for hemp and lime. So this is a hemp and lime structure, but they have used a stone facade. So you cannot see at all that it's hemp and lime behind it. So they chose a very different facade. The bottom right is a renovation project where they have used hemp and lime for the infill. So you can see the timber structure is the historical part that is still left, and they took out these infills and they what was historically a clay, a straw. I think it's quite similar, this building technique in France and in Sweden. Where you made an infill with what you could find basically at the farm or nearby. And here they have improved the energy efficiency of this house quite a lot, and also the acoustics was improved quite a lot by using hemp and lime. And then at the bottom left is a building called Clay Hill Farm in Suffolk by Modese Architects. Ralph Carpenter was the architect of this building and his office. And here they have used hemp and lime, and then to improve the energy of this building further, they have used a sheep wool insulation on the outside and then a timber facade. So these are some very different ways of building with hemp and lime, just to give you some examples. So now for the research projects that I have been working on and that I'm working on today at LTH, so Lund University, the technical department of Lund University. One project that I've been working on the past couple of years is called, let me see, Sustainable Energy Efficiency of Historical Buildings with Hemp and Lime. And what we did is this project was financed by the Swedish Energy Agency through a research project called Spara och Bevara, which means basically saving and preserving. So what we wanted to do in this project was to save energy and preserve cultural historical values. And we had this project in cooperation with Uppsala University Campus Gotland. So Gotland was this island that I showed you before when I showed this the hemp cultivation in Sweden. This island which had a lot of hemp in the 1950s. It also has a lot of lime. It has quite a significant lime production, one of the biggest in Sweden. And I did this together with Christine Balkstein, who is a lime expert. So this is one of the walls we looked at. This is quite a common building technique in Sweden, but I'm quite sure it has been used in France a lot. I will tell a bit more about what you can see right here. This is the corner of a building. So you're looking at the corner, and they're renovating this house. So they are taking away some layers. At the right, you can see that there is a lime render on the outside. And then there are these diagonal slats, wooden slats, with a thick lime render in between. So this thick lime render is usually about 8 to 10 centimeters. And this was applied to timber planks. So this is a post and plank technique called in English. And I looked it up in French. It is, I think, called pièce sur pièce. So post and plank technique with wooden planks on the inside, lime render on the outside, and these diagonal slats that you can see here are there to keep the lime in place, basically. And usually this lime was applied, this thick lime render was applied to improve energy efficiency of these buildings, but also to improve their fire resistance, because lime doesn't has better fire properties than the timber has. And what you can see here is a detail of a building that was being renovated when we were just out on a walk in Visby, which is the capital city of this island of Gotland, which we had our focus on in our project. What they were doing here is they were taking away these timber slats, the wooden slats, and the lime render, the thick lime render, and all that was left was this timber, the wooden planks. And what they were going to do here is put some mineral wool on the outside, then a render, probably a cement render, and then they would have improved the energy efficiency of this building, which is really a shame because it really destroys quite a lot of the building physics of these walls, and it also takes away a lot of the cultural historical values of these walls. So instead, in this project that we had, this research project, we proposed that instead of this thick lime render that you have, you could use a hemp and lime instead to improve energy efficiency of these buildings. So that is what we focused on. Could you take away the lime render and replace it with a hemp and lime render, keep the same thickness of the wall, keep the same properties, keep a similar building physics of the wall? So that is what the focus was of this project. This project has been ongoing for 3 years, and now we had a little a bit of a spin-off from it, which I will tell you about later as well. We renovated one actual wall, which you can see on the top right. This was a gable wall of a little house in Visby, where we took away the lime render and we replaced it with a hemp and lime render. We also had some full-scale studies at the lab at LTH. Now I just have to click this little pop-up message away. There we go. So we had some full-scale research going on at Lund University, and we also looked at microbial growth. So here at the bottom right, you can see hemp covered with lime, and we looked at different relative humidities, putting this hemp and lime and also hemp, just hemp, in different relative humidities to see if there was any microbial growth. So first, for this little renovation project, it was just this little wall that we were going to renovate. This is a building from the beginning, built in the beginning of the 1800s, so it's quite an old building. And what we thought is that we would find a post and plank construction behind this entire wall, but it turned out it was just the top part. So just this top triangle was a post and plank construction, and the bottom was a natural stone. So that we left at as it was. We put a new lime render on, but we renovated the top part. It is what happens when you work with historical buildings. You never know what you can find once you open the structure up and look inside. So that was also quite interesting. So here you can see this top part was a post and plank structure with these wooden slats. You can see there are quite a lot of wooden slats. So actually we took away some of the slats anyway, because sometimes there was just 1 centimeter in between as for space for the lime, so that was really not a lot. So every other wooden slat we removed, and the wooden slats that were damaged we replaced with new ones. And then we put a lime hemp render in between the slats and on the outside. So this is what it looked like a year later once the renovation was done, and we actually followed the moisture loads inside the wall. We couldn't really follow up on the energy because behind this top part there was the bedroom of the owners and they did not heat it. So there was no energy to be able to follow up. They did not replace the windows yet. That's why the windows look a little bit strange here. This is another part of the project where we built 2 walls, one historical wall, and it's a historical wall because it's a new built wall, but according to historical principles, and then an historical wall renovated with hemp and lime. So this is where we put these walls in these frames. This is a research facility where you can test the energy performance of the facades, because this room where this person is standing in, he is called Henrik Nilsson. He helped us with building these walls. You can follow up the energy use of these walls, and these rooms are completely insulated, so you know that the only energy loss you have is through the facade that we put in. So this is where we put in this post and plank construction, and this is where we have the first layer of hemp and lime. So one wall was hemp and lime and the other one was lime on the outside. And this way we could compare them straight off, because they were built in a similar way, exactly the same surface area and everything the same, but not the lime and hemp render. So here you can see we were applying the lime and hemp. As you can see, it was applied in a bit of an old-fashioned way, you could say, but we really wanted to see if the masons in Visby could opt for using a hemp lime render instead of a regular render, and then use the same building technique. So usually they would put the lime render on in this way that is shown here, and we wanted them to be able to use the hemp lime render in the same way. So here is the first layer of hemp and lime, and from up close. Here is the first layer of lime render. So these are the 2 walls that we compared. Here you can see the lime, so no hemp in this one. And here is, here's Henrik Nilsson helping me with putting all the materials in place. We built these 2 walls together, which was a nice project. So here we have a small comparison of these walls. For the first heating season, the hemp and lime have had an improvement or a reduction of 38% of energy needs for heating. So for heating the rooms, there was 38% less energy need in the hemp and lime wall, which is quite a good reduction because it was not a very thick hemp and lime layer. It was approximately 10 centimeters. So that's really a nice improvement with a very small change in the materials. And then for this new project that I'm working on right now, the walls are still standing. So we applied for some funding to be able to look at a follow-up what happens after a few years, because the first year you do not have the best improvement yet, because the walls were built in the summer of 2017. So the winter of 2017, they are not at their best yet because there's still some building moisture inside the walls, which had to dry out. So we will be continuing to follow up these walls, and that is both on energy, so energy for space heating, but we also have sensors inside these walls to see what is happening regarding the moisture loads inside the walls. So that will be very interesting to see. We've written something in Swedish as well. We've written some, we've published some English articles, some scientific articles, but also we wrote an anthology in Swedish, me and Christine, together with some of our master students. And you can find more about this project on this website, sparaochbevara.se. So you can have a look there if you want to find out more about this project. A lot of it is in Swedish, so you can also send me an email if you have a hard time finding the right information. But for the Swedes out there, this is a very nice document of our project. It's both in PDF, and I also have it as a book if you want to order that. So please send me an email if you have any questions. So that was my talk for today, and I'm looking forward to the other speakers.
Thank you for the invitation. I will try to speak on the. You can hear me? Yes.
No problem. We can hear you. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. I will make a presentation of my company and what we did for some years in the hemp in France and now worldwide. So my company is BCB. BCB is a center of expertise of the Loise Group, and this company is born in 2004 from the union of a small company, Eurevent Strasserville, and the Loise Group. And Eurevent Strasserville started in 1963, and the Loise Group in 1889. So the Loise Group is one of the major airline producers worldwide, with more than 100 production plants in the world, 25 countries, 4 technical centers, one in Besançon for the construction, 1 innovation center in Belgium, and a turnover of 2.3 billion euros. BCB is a construction center of expertise of the Loise Group. And a very short presentation of where the Loise Group is. He started in Belgium and expand his influence worldwide. The market are here. You will see in the presentation I will share. Building and civil engineering represent roughly 20% of the sales of the group. The main part is steel industry. The BCB expertise is in airline for construction. Airline is like Paulien said, it's pure lime setting with CO2 from air. And we produce binders for renovation or new buildings, for mortars, for renders, and for plasters or decoration. We sell binders because we use local sand for ecological reasons, and for the sand is giving the local influence of aesthetics, and we use local sand for that. As you know, the content in airline in the binders is the guarantee to get a very high vapor permeability and durability. It's why airline was used for many years, because it gives a durability of construction for many years, and very good relationships with water and exchange with atmosphere. The permeability of mortars is linked to the content of airline. The highest airline you have, and the better vapor permeability or breathability you have, flexible strengths, self-heating, aesthetics, and so on. So it's one of the guarantee to get a very high durability of the constructions. But in the Hempcrete market, this breathability of the binder is very important to have a very good, as we will see, a very good behavior of the Hempcrete. It's why we start 25 years ago. We start with a local hemp producer, some construction with hemp, and because of the benefits of the more than 125 years of experience and knowledge in lime production, we have developed binders dedicated to the Hempcrete markets. We start with a product in 1996, Tradical PF 70, after a lot of trials with Christophe, for example. Christophe will speak after. And because of their experience in construction, we improved the binders. And in 2015, we developed a new product, Tradical Thermo, who is now the well done dedicated product for hemp construction. These two products is a guarantee to get the best behavior with hemp in terms of setting and in terms of vapor permeability. And the vapor permeability gives, as Paulien said before, vapor permeability gives a very good behavior of the Hempcrete. And Paulien said before that you can put any renders of or any decoration on it, but you have also to get breathability of the renders. It's with no breathability of the renders, you lose a lot of qualities of the Hempcrete. And because of the high hygrothermal properties of the hemp sheaves, I think Laurent will speak about that after. We need to have a very high vapor permeability binder, and it's why the binder we have a very high content of R9 in it. And because of the capacity to the hemp sheaves to take water, 1 kilo of hemp sheave can absorb 4 kilos of water. So there is a competition between the binder and the hemp sheaves, and you have to securize the setting. And we have made a lot of work in terms of this security of the setting. We have, sorry, it's going too fast. Peter asked me to present two examples of renovation, and one of the examples of renovation is Château d'Ansembourg in Luxembourg. Why? Because it's a very nice castle, and we made all the application of lime in it and hemp lime, and we took the opportunity to make a training of contractors during the construction. So it's a very good example because it's a pure renovation, and renovation with new contractors, and we make the training during the job site to increase the knowledge. it's some photo. I don't know why it's going so fast. Some photo of the Château d'Ansembourg, and you can see here. You can see here the how we did in this castle. It was a renovation. So on the existing wall, we put Hempcrete, and on the Hempcrete we put lime render on it for decoration and for a good breathability of the walls. I have a second example of renovation. Sorry, I have a second example of renovation. It's la Maison du Tourisme in Troyes. Troyes, there is lots of construction with wood frame, very old wood frame, and they wanted to renovate this house, and they wanted also to make a new house with it, and all was made with Hempcrete and lime renders. It's a very good example of renovation and new building also. We in this example, it's a new building with a wood frame, but I think Laurent will give also example of concrete frame or steel frame. In this example, we have made all the example of using of hemp. We made the insulation of the roof. We made screeds. We made also renovation in terms of application of existing walls and new walls. So it's a very good and very nice realization. So you can see here some example of the job site. You have to know that for the last 6 years, we have sold for more than 100,000 cubic meters of hemp. Now the Hempcrete in France is quasi a traditional construction, and Laurent and Christophe have worked a lot to make a democratization of this using in construction. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question.
Christophe Lubert. I work with Hempcrete since 20 years. First by manual layer, and after with spraying. Two axes of my company. First, old building heritage, stone builder, plaster outside, inside, with only lime and hemp and earth. Second axis, Hempcrete board prefabrication, passive house with Hempcrete, development of earth Hempcrete, member of a National Association of Building. We participated since 20 years for different research programs in relation with specialist laboratories. This working site is based on the west of France. The owner wanted an organic solution source with a local supplies, with hemp in Normandy, lime in the front of our country, and wood fiber and wood frame. Naturally, we proposed Hempcrete and supplies produced in the local area. Thanks for the architect, Quentin Pichon, we got a complete team willing to work with Hempcrete. And first, the carpenter, we studied together for 2 months maps and technical solution. Now this is the solution. It's a principle of building, because now we use a lot of layer possibility. So for this work site, this is the retained solution. You see three levels. The first with a classical concrete building, because there was no solution in bio-based materials in buried part. The second with a concrete supporting structure, insulation with Hemp board prefabrication, and the third with supporting wood frame and insulation Hemp board. All the roof was insulated with Hempcrete and 30 centimeter thickness. All the structure on the board is based in a wood frame validated by the design office. So decomposition of the panel. You see the indoor finish with lime and hemp, the Hempcrete with the solution Tradical, the wood frame, wood fibers, and outdoor finish. 31 panels was fabricated in 3 weeks. And for us, the benefits is to build in a good condition and controlled area. Construction with dry construction, bio-based material. We adjust the water and work in atelier and the optimization of the cost. You see the photo. And now on a workshop, you see the arrival of the panels in vertically. After we put them on horizontally and let drive for 10 days. The interest is to do a lot of possibility of panel height or thickness. Integration of electricity or else is easy, but in study, nothing is left to change for the position. But really, there is a not difference with other panel wood frame. This solution has been known for a long time. Next. Nothing allowed to see from the outside that it's a building made with a bio-sourced material with Hempcrete. The render is a special formulated with lime and tiny fibers inside, and outside it's a special formulated lime with 2 layers. The first with a screen, and the second with lime and sand. And inside, we found a new formulated recipes with lime and tiny fibers with Tradical. It stayed with the natural colors after. All distribution partitions are removed. The owner reserves the right to modify it on the future. And now this is the program for us to make a new factory near Paris. The project also allow us to work for 3 weeks to produce the 31 panels. and now it's possible to do it on only 2 days. Our produce our panels to be raised for quickly and speed up drying. We can build panels 2 meters long and 3 meters This program can possible in Paris in 2021. So thank you very much.
Hello everyone, so my name is Quentin Pichon. I'm an architect and an engineer. I work in a study, in my own study in the west part of France, in Bretagne, for the people who knows it. I mainly work on Hempcrete building in this area. I work with Christophe, for example. We did many projects together. And most of the building I'm working on integrate Hempcrete. So we tried the study to use it in a bigger project and higher project every day. And also at the same time, I'm working for an organization. The name is Construire en Chanvre, Building with Hemp. And the main goal of this organization is to improve, to develop the French standards, so the thermal standards in France, the acoustic standards in France, the fire response, the fire how Hempcrete is going to react in front of fire. So I work with these organizations too, and so this you've already seen a picture of this building. I was working on with Christophe Lubert. You've seen it before, so I wanted to add some more pictures just to say that from the perspective of an architect, using Hempcrete make life easier. What I want to say is that compared to other constructive system, using Hempcrete, it's very easy because you've got the same material from the inside of the building until the outside of the building. And this material, Hempcrete, it does the thermal regulation, it does the acoustic regulation, it does the fire, the very good fire reaction. Also, you've got the regulation of humidity, so you detect it is very convenient to be able to use the same materials, very efficient materials to do everything. So this is one of the reason I prefer Hempcrete to other materials. And also at the same time, you've got a sustainable material, you've got a recycled material, and also you've got a local system that you can use. The sheaves of the hemp, it came from the land really close of the really nearby the building we are working on. So there are many reasons to use Hempcrete and to keep going to use it. This is the inside of this building. So as you can see, you can have every kind of rendering inside the building and outside the building. So it doesn't appear that you've got Hempcrete or other material inside the building you are making. So you're free to do everything we want. We are free to do everything we want with Hempcrete. This is another building, and as you can see, I picked these pictures because the wall you see on the not on the top but on the down of the pictures, you see we choose to let Hempcrete visible like that. This is like a showroom in this building, so everyone can touch it, can see it, and so you can see that it can be part of the environment you are creating inside the building. So you can use it also as the material you let the people. It can also be used like that. This is another building we made 2 years ago. These are offices, and as you can see, they are Hempcrete. There is Hempcrete. I think it's very easy. It's not very complicated, and it is full of Hempcrete inside, and it works very, very good, especially in during summer. This building doesn't have any kind of air conditioning. It works only with bioclimatic systems like Hempcrete. And this last building we are working on, I told you before, we try to make a building higher and bigger with Hempcrete to develop the system. So this is one building I am working on with other architects in Nantes, the city I work, and it's a 7th floor building, and it goes with many questions about the fire reaction. And this is the link with my next slide, the fire reaction. Donc, this is what the organization I told you about before, Construire en Chambre, building with Hemp. The organization is right now working on 2 kinds of tests, fire testing. The first one on the left of the slide has already been done. It was last summer in 2019, and it proved what we already knows, that that Hempcrete is very, very, very efficient with fire, and it proves that Hempcrete without any kind of coating can endure, can be in front of 1000 degrees fire during 4 hours. It is the most time we can be, you can have a fire in a building in France. So we test for 4 hours, 240 minutes. This is the wall we tested without the coating, without any coating or wood or any kind of material. And what I wanted to share you is this slide, and it's very interesting if you watch it closely. What I put in red on the column red, you can see that the temperature inside the wall around the nearby the wood structure goes to 300 degrees only until 128 minutes. That means that Hempcrete protects the wood inside the Hempcrete, and this is very, very interesting for the people who work with wood. That the meaning of this is that when you use Hempcrete, you protect the wood, and you prevent wood to collapse inside your wall. And the other interesting things we saw during this test, it's the last line. You can see that after 210 minutes with 1000 degrees on one side of the wall, you've got on the other side only 17 degrees. So it means that the insulation system with Hempcrete is very, very, very efficient. And this is the second test. So this test was supposed to happen the next week, but because of the COVID and all the things with COVID, we couldn't have done it. So it's going to happen only in September, and this test is to prove that the propagation of fire from a first floor to a second floor to a third floor to a fourth floor, it's going well, and it lets the time to the people to evacuate the building before the building collapses. And with the result, with the test we did 1 year ago, we are pretty confident that it's going to be very, very good, that the results are going to be very good. And I finish my presentation.
We are working so in Paris. I'm working with my brother Grégoire. We are both engineer, and I'm also architect. we join in our office additional skills to design with structural, thermal, environmental, and low carbon preoccupation. And we work with lots of architects, different architects. We will just have a first stop in Normandy for the first house we built with Cyril Pressaco and Thibaut Barrault. It's a small houses with 3 greenhouses in the plan. And what is really interesting is that with Cyril and Thibaut, we spend many time just to discuss and try to understand how a technical point could improve architecture. And one day they came back with this plan, and in this plan you can see the greenhouses and around the greenhouse the living spaces was developed, and in fact air come inside greenhouses just to try to be tempered by air by solar heat. And all the house and especially the greenhouses are made of Hempcrete for the wall and the roofing. And it developed really a nice place with many type of spaces. Just some kind of space are interior space and some other are intermediate between interior and exterior space. Second project, we came back near Paris in Les Loges-en-Josas, where we made with Grégoire Dumont and Olivier Legrand 10 houses for private promotion. This project is made of 2 blocks of houses, all made of Hempcrete for the wall and the roofing. And it was interesting on this project because one day, a summer day, it was really a hot day. We were there with Daniel and a famous ministry of Australia coming to visit the site, and the air temperature was around 30 degrees outside. Inside the house, the air temperature was also 29 degrees. But when we entered the house, even there was no windows, no doors, we have the feeling that we came in a ground cave. It was really a cool feeling. And this is because in fact, the wall temperatures was around 16 degrees. This means that the perceived temperature, which is the mean between air temperature and wall temperature, was in fact not 29 temperature, but it was 23 degrees. So this means that when we enter the house, in fact, we perceived a 7 degree decrease of temperature. So it was really, really important for us. And we will now visit a third project in Paris, which was a major project for us because around 10 years ago we started with North by Northwest Architects. And it's a 6-level building in Paris with a lime render on the street and the wood cladding on the rear facade. You can see this building is made of wood frame on a steel skeleton, steel framework. So here you can see the steel framework, the steam framework, which is all precast and delivered on the building site. As it is in the center of Paris, we had to find a way to go so quick we can. This is the wood framework on the steel frame, and here you can find the Hempcrete all around the structure for all the walls and also for the roofing. And what is really important for us when we did this building is that we discovered that in fact we were able to catch carbon in the Hempcrete, so that the carbon footprint is able to be divided by 3, whereas in other traditional way of construction, we just was able to divide the carbon footprint by 2. So this is another project we made in Paris, still with Dumont and Lund Architectes, which is a refurbishment of an old building. This building is in the center of Paris, in the Quartier Latin, you maybe know. This building is aged from the 18th century. So when we discover this building, we try to take the most care we can of these old walls, and we try to find the best way to renovate it. So we decide to put Hempcrete inside the wall and hygrothermal plaster, on the outside part of the wall, and we finish it with the lime render, so that you can see that it's outside insulation, but you don't see it. Next project is Rue Oberkampf. You hear it just before in Paris. We built this project with Barrault and Pressaco Architects. It's a major project in Paris because we use regional resource for the building. It's made of stone. Stone, you can find it in the north of Paris, not far, around 100 kilometers. And we also use some other construction products like wood and steel to make the structure of the slab and the frame structure. And insulation is made by Hempcrete inside all the walls, and we finish with lime render. It's a major project because lime, hemp, and stone are really a good way to build today. Now you can. I would just show you to finish 2 other projects we are finishing today in Paris. First one is in the north of Paris, still with Barrault and Pressaco Architects. It's a building, housing building for Paris Habitat, and we do it for all the facade with Hempcrete and wood framework, as you can see on the pictures. And the next one, built with North by Northwest in Bellevue, Rue de Bellevue, in Boulogne-Billancoourt, just near from Paris. This one is 9 levels, and we are now still in construction time. And here you can see a wood framework and Hempcrete. And to finish, just some pictures of lots of experimentation work we sometimes do with many people in Paris, and it's really important to practice this material, and we have many pleasure to experiment and make some research. We have to develop. There is many things to discover today still. So thank you very much. And if you have any question, I will let you answer.
So I am Hugo from Euromer. I am the area manager for Northern Europe, Russia, Poland, Iceland. We are French producer of spring machines since '94. We are based in south of France, and we are making spring machine for mortar, gypsum plaster, lime, screed, paint, and also insulation, as you will see later. We have dedicated team for export. So we are different area manager who can go to visit you, make demos, support you during fair, during open days. We can give you training also. So just to let you know that we can support you to use our machines. Now we'll speak directly about Hempcrete machines. So our solutions is divided in 3 parts. You can see in the left part, you have a blue machine. This is a lime machine. It needs to be combined with the red machine in the middle, which is a hemp machine. And you can see on the right, you have a special lens to make a meeting between hemp and lime after on the wall, in fact. I will explain you deeply the lime machine. We have 3 different machines in our different system for Hempcrete, from small to big. The only difference will be the flow rate. So how much cubic meter you will do in 1 hour. With the lime machine, you will adjust the texture, so the ratio between lime and water. So you have a button where you can adjust the water quantity. I will say, I know about machine, I don't know a lot about Hempcrete. So it's up to you, up to the applicator, up to the Hempcrete applicator to know which texture you need. With this machine, you can also adjust the flow rate. So how much liters per minute you want of lime. And of course, you can adjust the airflow because all those machines have a compressor. So you will need air to explode the lime on the wall. After that, we have only one hemp machine because we need only one different machine for whole kind of system. With this machine, you will adjust the mixing shaft. So how you will crush the hemp, how you will separate it to blow it easy. The amount of hemp will fall in the tank, so it will manage the quantity of hemp, and also the flow rate, so the air power to push the hemp. And the last and really important part, the special lens for Hempcrete. So with this lens, as you can see, you will have the hemp will go in the big holes at the bottom, and the lime will go in the lens. With this part, you will be able to adjust the spring distance because of that. I don't know if you can see when I'm moving, where I'm moving, but this, you can open it more or less in this way to adjust, how can I say, yeah, the pattern and the spring distance to the wall. I can tell you that the spring distance for Hempcrete, it's more or less 20-30 centimeters. After that, how different Hempcrete solutions. So the first one and the smallest one with the Mix Pro 14. So you can see that everything is included and ready to work. If you order a system like this, it's ready to work. This is the smallest system, and with this smallest system, you can go up to 1.5 cubic meters an hour. You can also do the finishing, hemp and lime filler. You will be not able to do a finishing with lime and sand because the pump is too small. So if you do that, you will block. New system that we have, I think since 6 months, something like this. This is a bit bigger. So the lime machine is bigger. You can go up to 4 cubic meters an hour. You can do the hemp and lime filler. You can also do finishing with sand and lime. It depends the grain size of sand. If it's more than 4 millimeters, forget it. If it's less than 4 millimeters, you are able to do the finishing like this. Last solution with Compact Pro 60. So normally it's a thermal machine, but we can also do in 3-phase electric machine, which I think it's make more sense if you want to do green construction. It's make more sense to use an electric machine than a thermal machine which use fuel. But it's up to you, of course. This machine is the biggest solution that we have, biggest in terms of capacity. You can go up to 6 cubic meters an hour. You can do everything, hemp and lime fillers, lime and sand finishing. This pump is huge, so you can use all the sands that you want up to 8 millimeters grain size. So yes, you will be able to control all steps of construction with this solution. Now, I wanted to show you a quick video that we did, I think, with some of you guys. It was almost 10 years ago with our smallest solutions, Mix Pro 14. So please take a look because it's better than any words. So before spraying, of course, we are preparing all machines, all materials. Now it's preparing the lens. As you see, there is only 2 nozzles on this lens. Now in our new systems, we have 3 nozzles to be able to cover more hemp with lime. Fill the tank with hemp. After you prime the machine to be sure that it's working well. Same thing for lime. You put in the machine and you prime it. You adjust the water quantity to have the texture that you want. It needs to be really liquid for Hempcrete. After you put the nozzle, and after we spray. So I repeat, this is the smallest solution with 1.5 cubic meters an hour. So I will recommend this system for renovation more than construction. The 2 other system will be better for construction, definitely, because you will need prorate. Now the finishing, and after they will put the lime renders. Now the finishing with lime and hemp also, so it's lime and hemp renders plaster. I don't really know how you call it, but I know it's for finishing like 2, 3, 4 millimeters thickness. And I think that's it. And after, of course, you can finish with only lime. So please, thank you for Jakob and Peter to invite me, and please feel free to contact me if you have any question.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. Just some background. I've been working with ozone technology. I've been a fish farmer. Now I work with district heating. So I've been fortunate to work in an environment with sustainability. I have a great network, and I'm very curious. So this with EcoHouse, goes back a long time. I don't really know when it started, but always been fascinated by architecture. And I know I was saving some trees from a road construction when I was 10, 12 years old. So I was an early tree hugger before the expression actually was invented. This with living in a healthy house goes back many years. So actually, when I was studying in Lund, I had a very nice address. I was living in the Professorstaden in Lund, and I lived in a famous architect's house. It was built 1939. It was drawn by Hans Westman, and now we are sitting about a kilometer from one of the houses he created in Malmö, the old Öresundshuset. So he's been a very productive man. Next to him, we had the architect Christophe Lubert, who is responsible for the Solbyn in Dalby. And we were talking to him. He invited us into to his house, and he explained to us how he had built, what considerations he had made when he created this house. And it was nice to hear him talk. So it must hang on. Yeah, just det. So to the right, you see, I was also involved in Pegasus Trädgård, the Garden of Pegasus in Höj, 15 kilometers from Lund. And they had different courses in environmental building. And 25 years ago, time flies by, there was a man called Robert Laporte who came over from America. And he built with wood framing and a combination of clay and straw. And the picture that you see, I actually took it this morning on the way over here. We built this back in 1995. And that was one way of building an ecological house. Now, today, 25 years later, I live in an old summer house in Saxtorpsskogen, which is between Lund and Landskrona. I lived there with my French wife and 2 children. When my daughter was born, we had just finished the extension of the house. We went from 50 square meters to 85 square meters. Felt like living in a palace with those extra square meters. But time goes by, the children grow up and they want their space, and I wanted my man cave for my guitars and my just being alone. So the question about Attefallshus, for you who are French, a short description of Attefall is a house that you could build without all the bureaucracy. It's easier to build it than an ordinary house. So a lot of people, they build an Attefall house in the garden to have more space. So that was an idea that I was very interested in. And I started looking at different constructors, different alternatives. And today they make them on an assembly line. They are fully equipped with bathrooms and kitchen, and they comes with a big lorry, and they put it in place in your garden. Very comfortable. But why make it simple? I thought, well, there were some questions there as well. How long will this building last? How good is the quality? What kind of building materials do they have? Will there be emissions? Is it a healthy house? So the process was, I started up the process. Should I build something on my own? When I was in Alsace with the parents of my wife, I sat down and I started doing some drawings, because I had taken the decision to maybe I should build something on my own. We had the space in the garden, We have a big, well, big, 2,000 square meters. There's plenty of room for playing around and build a house. And I had, by coincidence, when I was a fish farmer, I had this project of growing mussels, and I didn't want to grow that on plastic ropes. I want some kind of natural rope, and I got in contact with the hemp people in Sweden, and they had this building course. So I went to the building course, and I met Peter at House of Hemp, and a lot of other. I met Paulien as well. She spoke very interestingly about her research, and from that point, I was completely lost in the world of hemp, with all those possibilities, all those applications. And of course, when I was doing this, thinking about building this extra house, of course, I should build it with Hempcrete. And I called up a couple of not hemp, but Attefall's constructors of hemp, Attefall's house. And I said, could you build in hemp? And they said, well, we don't do that. We could, but we won't do that for a couple of years. We have to put it into our to the building process and all that. So I realized that I would have to start doing a lot of things on my own. At the same time, I had got in contact with Henning, who was also at this building course. He called me a couple of months ago because I've been talking about this project for a while on LinkedIn and Facebook. So he called me and he said, listen, if you're going to build with Hempcrete, you have to build with this koljärn house foundation. It's made of reused glass. It has a very long lifespan, and it has a very low CO2 footprint and very good isolation. And the good thing is that we build it. If we finish it on Monday, we can erase the wood frame, or the ossature, as you say in French, the wood construction the day after. It doesn't have to mature or dry up, which is the case with concrete. So I thought, okay, we have a very interesting house foundation. We have Hempcrete. I spoke to Peter to see if those two philosophies will marry, and he said he was very enthusiastic. He said, this is really a good thing to combine. So, all right, I told Henning, let's go for this. And I had to find someone who could help me with the construction, the wood construction. So I looked around. I found a company up in Åre, which is the Swedish Alps, where we go skiing. And there was a company called BIM House. I called them because they help the client. They do the construction in a digital way, so they can send the information to a company that can cut up all the pieces. So you get like a big IKEA cardboard box with all the pieces that you can build. So you don't have to go to the wood shop to buy the piece of wood that you accidentally cut in two pieces or something like that. You have a package that you build. And then I told them I want to build in Hempcrete. So I would pose a lot of questions because it's pretty new in Sweden. And then they told me about a friend of theirs that lives in Skåne, southern parts where we are now, who had actually built a hemp house, not a Hempcrete house, but using hemp isolation. So she was an architect, and I called her. We quickly arranged a meeting. So the picture you see here is the result of our first meeting. Then we have talked, and the original idea of building Attefallshaus, 30 square meters, became 50 square meters, because I had the right to build 50 square meters. My son, he came along and he said he wanted a room on his own where he could have all his Pokemon cards and fossils that he collects. So, all right, of course, my son should have a room. And the picture you see now is what we are going to build. We have 50 square meters. So you see, we are ready to go. I'm waiting for the permission from the city. We have created a network with the kind help of Peter at House of Hemp. We will build the first Hempcrete house with certified building material in Sweden. Paulien will be responsible for the foundation in foam glass. We have proud to have Euromair involved in this. Yeah, thumbs up for that. BIM House will construct and deliver all the wood parts. We are going to take contact with Tradical, who will do the impermeable layer in the bathroom. And then there are still people to come, but we are setting up a very nice bunch of companies and people for this project. So this is how far we have come from now. I would like to complete this little speech of mine with a quote from Hans Westman, where I lived 25 years ago. He said, "The future belongs to those that plan for the future." And that's what we are doing. We are planning for a future with building material, biological building material, and hempcrete and healthy materials. So that was all from me. Thank you very much for listening.